The January transfer window is open, and one of the big early moves looks to be that man, Bournemouth's Antoine Semenyo to Manchester City, but it is far from done yet. Hello there, welcome along to Good Morning Transfers. The January window is up and running, and we look set for another bumper month of deals. Alongside me for the hour, former Bournemouth midfielder Dan Gosling and James Green, who is keeping across all the deals for you. Semenyo isn't the only winger that looks to be on the move. Brennan Johnson left out of Tottenham's squad last night as he looks set to depart. We'll hear from his manager Thomas Frank. Meanwhile, West Ham are wasting no time. Attackers is what Nuno wants, and it looks like he might get two, and one of them may be done in time to feature tomorrow. Arsenal may be top of the table for the start of 2026, but will Mikel Arteta look to strengthen his squad in a bid to end their long wait for a Premier League trophy? While at Manchester United, may they have to wait until the summer until they spend big, or could they dip their toes into the market? We've got the latest on two players that they're keeping an eye on. Welcome along. Great to have you with us. Here we go then. Deadline day, 31 days away, and all the build-up starts right here for you. And of course, dominating the news this morning, Bournemouth winger Antoine Semenyo. Mr. Dan Gosling, welcome along, sir. Look, Manchester City set to be his destination. Is this the right move for City? Is this the right move for Semenyo?
Well, for the player, it's obviously a fantastic move if it happens. There was talk he had the whole of the top 5-6 clubs in the Premier League after him, which is no surprise really, given what he's done this year in the last couple of years at Bournemouth. I think Manchester City are getting a goal scorer, something that they need. I think he's different to all their wingers. I think his goals and his numbers really are a lot better this year for sure than Manchester City, what they have, and that over-reliance on Erling Haaland, I think Semenyo could just help with that.
Yeah, right, more from Dan very shortly, but let's take you to where Semenyo looks to be heading, and that is the Etihad Stadium. Ben Ransom joins us from there now. Ben, a very good morning to you. Happy New Year. Why is Pep Guardiola so keen to sign Semenyo?
I think Dan's hit the nail on the head there. I think it's those goals from wide areas. It's an area where you'd have to say City have been light over the last couple of seasons. We know all about the disappointment of last year, and this year they're right back in the title race. But as again Dan said, that over-reliance on Erling Haaland's goals, he's got 19 of their Premier League goals. Semenyo has 9 for Bournemouth. That's more than any other City player. Foden the closest with 7. And in terms of goals from wide areas specifically, the likes of Doku, Shirky, Marmoush when he's played, Oscar Bob Savino, they've only got 3 goals between them. So you can see why it's an area of the squad where Pep feels they are maybe a little bit light, and they've probably been light in that area since maybe Riyad Mahrez left a couple of seasons ago. His goal contribution from those wide areas was probably overlooked in that run of title wins, and before that Raheem Sterling. So he's obviously seen an opportunity to get a player who's at the very top of his game, who's consistently got better and better and better with every season that's gone by. And last season, obviously, I guess we saw the peak of that, and he's carried on in that vein this year as well. And then alongside the goal threat, there's the assist threat too, and specifically perhaps long throws. We're almost bored of talking about them in the Premier League, aren't we, this year? But Antoine Semenyo has that in his arsenal, if you'll pardon the pun, and both goals that Bournemouth scored at Stamford Bridge in the week came courtesy of Semenyo launching the ball into the box. It's not something that City traditionally do because they don't really have anyone who can deliver the ball in that way. So it's just another area possibly that Pep Guardiola is looking to strengthen this window.
And Ben, do you expect any further ins and outs at City this month?
Well, it's difficult to say. A couple of years ago, well, I'd have said absolutely not, because City don't do business in the January window. But then last year they went big. Admittedly, it was exceptional circumstances. Pep likes a smaller squad, we know that. So that suggests probably not, unless there are any more major injuries. I mean, Rodri coming back and playing so well last night suggests that in central midfield, assuming he can get back to fitness, then they're probably okay, even though Mateo Kovacic is out for another couple of months. So perhaps that's the one area where they're a little bit light. But as I say, barring any injuries, you'd say they're probably well covered. And in terms of outs, look, the latest one to be talked about, of course, is Oscar Bob and Borussia Dortmund's long-standing interest in him. He's a player that rewinds to the start of last season, was very much in Pep's first-team plans. It was expected to be his breakout season, and then he broke his ankle and essentially missed a large part of the campaign. Not quite got back to full fitness. It's been stops and starts this year as well for Oscar Bob. So maybe a loan deal with the option of a permanent deal in the summer might be something that the club are open to. But as it stands, it's about getting him fit, because he's currently on the treatment table as well with a thigh injury keeping him out anyway.
Ben, cheers, mate. Stay warm. It's nippy up in Manchester this morning, everyone. Right, so Semenyo looks set to depart Bournemouth, who he actually featured for just the other night against Chelsea. Jeremy Langdon is going to be speaking to Andoni Iraola later on today. Jeremy, morning to you. Is there a chance then that if this deal doesn't get wrapped up ASAP, that Semenyo could play against Arsenal tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly at Chelsea, Andoni Iraola was giving the impression that Semenyo hasn't played his last game for Bournemouth, and they would be included against Arsenal this weekend. He played the full 90 at Chelsea. And don't forget, Bournemouth are in a big slump at the moment. No win in their last 10 games. Semenyo, as we've been hearing, is their leading scorer on 9 goals. So they really need him. 9 of 29 Semenyo has scored for Bournemouth this season. That's how important he is. And Bournemouth in a slump. They're playing Arsenal, of course, the leaders. They need him for this big match. It could be, well, his last big match for Bournemouth. He's played 99 Premier League games. His stats are really impressive. From those 99 games, 29 goals in the Premier League, 10 assists, and this year it's been good as well. He's played 18, 9 goals and 3 assists, and what a deal it's been for Bournemouth, having signed Semenyo from Bristol City 3 years ago this month for £10 million. If this deal does go through for £65 million, Bristol City are big winners too in this deal, because they have a sell-on clause of 20% on any profit on the original sale. So 10 million to 65, you can do the maths. It could well be over £10 million for Bristol City. And Bournemouth, of course, again, selling a big player like they've done so often before in the last few years. We're going to have to wait and see, but certainly Andoni Iraola is in this room at 12:30. He should be telling us more, and whether Semenyo is going to play for his team against Arsenal this weekend in what could be his last match for Bournemouth.
Jeremy, thank you very much. Look, so Dan, I mean, it depends which way you look at it. Has it been a good last few windows for Bournemouth, your old club, or not? Financially, certainly has, right? But they've lost some huge players. And if you keep rolling those dice, how dangerous is that?
Yeah, I don't think they want to lose these players. I think that's just the model of the club. I think until Bournemouth can build a new stadium or improve their stadium and get more revenue in that way, which they're trying to do with different sponsorship deals and going over to America, and with the American owners, they're trying to get that revenue up. But ultimately, the way to do it is by sending the players. So recruitment is absolutely massive for them. If they don't get that right, then they're in big trouble. But for the last few years, they've been spot on with it, signing. I mean, look at these players. The money that they brought in is incredible. So Semenyo is just another one. And yes, it's harder to keep replacing these players, and that's probably where they are in the table, because the players that have come in are just not quite at that Real Madrid, that Paris Saint-Germain level, and the Liverpool level that they've just sold the players to. So they'll get better. But yes, it's going to be a struggle this year, I think, especially if Semenyo goes in the next week or so.
And do you think there's a risk, though, that they might get it wrong once, and what that would mean? Because it feels like they're treading a fine line, and there's some clubs that do it very, very well. Brighton, their consistency with bringing in players, scouting really well, then selling them for big profits. The big, huge profits in the summer, as we've just seen there on that graphic. But obviously, if the recruitment's wrong, there is this fine line between staying in the Premier League and then being dragged into a relegation battle. And then should they drop back down to the Championship, a club like Bournemouth with, like you mentioned, the stadium, that's going to be very, very tough to get themselves back up, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they got relegated a couple of years ago and then bounced up on the second attempt, I think. Obviously Dominic Solanke fired the goals, and then he got his big move to Spurs. But yeah, they don't want to sell the best players, of course, and the Premier League is unforgiving. So if they do get it wrong, and we've seen many clubs get recruitment wrong over the few years, and it takes a long time to get back. Even the top clubs in world football, once they get it wrong, it's a costly mistake, and it can take years to get back to the level where they're at. Bournemouth aren't quite there, but yeah, I know the recruitment process is thorough. I know the guys there do a lot of due diligence on the players and the background, and so far they've been excellent. So hopefully that trend can continue.
James, how do you think Semenyo will fit in at Manchester City? When you compare him, and obviously Ben there mentioned some of the names, Doku, Savinho, Marmoush, Oscar Bob, who of course has been playing on the right wing as well, with the current wingers that they actually have under Pep. I mean, Pep loves a winger now, doesn't he? Never used to.
Never used to. Does love a winger, but then recently we've seen him play pretty much without a winger, hasn't he? Played those creative players, the likes of Foden, Bernardo Silva, Cherki, Reinders, all in those kind of fluid positions between the centre of the pitch, the left and the right. You mentioned Oscar Bob, Savinho, Doku, Marmoush. Between them, they've got one goal this season. I know Dan spoke about Semenyo's goals earlier. Ben also touched upon it. 9 goals. He offers so much more, and I love what Ben said about the long throw. We are talking about the long throw this year. We can't ignore the long throw this year.
Erling Haaland's going to like that long throw.
Erling Haaland's going to love it, but it's just another opportunity to box teams in, and Semenyo's got a weapon. We saw it the other night against Chelsea, working so well, but he's not brought in for the long throw. He's brought in for his creativity, his goals, but his work rate going back the other way, and I think that's something that Manchester City have been missing from those forward.
No way Manchester United would allow Manchester City sign Semenyo. Sources close to the situation insist United are fully aware of City's interest and are already positioning themselves to block any move. Semenyo is seen as a player with huge upside, and letting a direct rival strengthen with him would be unthinkable at Old Trafford. United are monitoring developments closely, with internal discussions ongoing as they consider their next step. One thing is clear: if Semenyo is moving, Manchester United want control of the situation, not to watch City get another deal.